What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit about both projects. What we did at Cleveland State, what we're doing at Chattanooga State, because I've been put in time warp where, the last year at Chattanooga State was like 5 years ago at Cleveland State. So, and that's fine. But it'll give you a good perspective on both sides of the coin. Cleveland State will give you an idea of maybe what a finished model looks like. And Chattanooga State, we're still under construction, as you're going to see. I put some construction signs on the Chattanooga State signs. But anyway, here are the two labs. The one on the going left to right, that one is the Cleveland State lab, and the other one is the Chattanooga State lab. And I'm going to talk about commonalities between the two redesigns as well. One commonality is a large computer lab, and that's called the Emporium. And so let's jump in. At Cleveland State, we redesigned 3 developmental math classes. Okay? We used the Emporium model. Students met in class 1 hour a week. Then they went to lab 1 hour a week. And then they were supposed to go to the lab extra time as needed. Now, we gave them some flexibility there, which is very important. Some of them would go home and do a whole bunch of work and then come into the lab. Others would stay in that lab 8 hours a day and work on their math. So we used the Emporium model and we used mastery learning. But we didn't stop there. One thing that I always ask people about redesign, when you're entering redesign, the most important question that you can ask yourself is this: what are you going to do if it works? Amen? Because at Cleveland State, and Paul already mentioned a lot of the big numbers, but we ended up with a 40% increase in college-level math enrollment at Cleveland State after the redesign. And we've sustained that since then. So I often ask deans and administrators, what would you do with a 40% increase in college-level math enrollment? One word: panic, right? I'd have to go find extra adjuncts. I'd have to go find this. I'd have to ask for more money. We'd have to find more classrooms. I dealt with a 40% increase in college-level math enrollment with 0 adjuncts and no extra money. In fact, we sustained a $50,000 cost savings through that increase. So we went on and redesigned the college-level math, but I want to emphasize that's one thing that allowed me to do that, to deal with that seamlessly in the transition. When the redesign is successful, the first thing that students want to know: when are you going to do this in college level? So anyway, we did college algebra, final math, and statistics. And then this past year, we went on to include pre-cal 1 and 2, applied trig, and business calculus. Again, we used the Emporium model. Again, we used mastery learning. Scheduling benefits. Number 1, continuous enrollment plan. This is where we allowed students to complete multiple courses in one semester, okay? We had roughly 63 students in that year complete 2 or more courses. 2 of them completed 3 courses in one semester, okay? So that's a great thing, though, because the more work you get out of the students, the better. If they want to go into that lab and work, don't stop them, just keep them working. And then think about what you just did for retention and graduation. Retention and graduation rates at Cleveland State went up by 7% after the redesign for the college. Our president came to me and said, you get all the credit for that. Why? We were the only things that had changed in that time. Nothing else had changed in the college. 7% increase in college retention. One-room schoolhouse. This is a great solution for low enrollment courses at off-sites. Anybody have any problems with low enrollment courses and trying to get those things offered and make, it's like, will it run, will it make, what are we going to do, so forth. We offered pre-cal 1 and 2 and business calculus at the Athens site last year for the first time. Okay? And here's the important part. Those students, we only had two students in Pre-Cal 1, a couple students in Pre-Cal 2, one business calculus. Those students had the same resources, the same setup. They had an instructor, they had a class time, they had a meeting time, they had classmates. They had the same exact situation as the other students. It's not like we just offered an online course and said, see you at the end of the semester for your F, right? No, we set them up for success, and that's very important. But the one-room schoolhouse is this. You can combine classes because the teacher is not lecturing, rather they're helping students. So during the 1 hour of class time, students would just work and the teacher would help them. Now often people will say, well then what's the point of that? The point of it is this: structure, connection. Students still need people, okay? Students still need teachers. They always will, okay? So they had the structure, they had the connection, and they're set up for success. But the one-room schoolhouse is a great idea for low enrollment classes. You can now, through this strategy, you can now offer courses at offsites that you may not have been able to offer before. Math on demand. Math on demand comes about from the one-room schoolhouse. Right before I left Cleveland State, I had a phone call from the offsite director, and I had told her, you pay attention to the students, you pay attention to their needs, and the faculty do the same. And then you let me know what those needs are, and we will meet those needs. She looked at me, she said, wow, that's awesome. She called me a week before I left for Chattanooga State. She said, John, we've got one student who needs finite math in Athens. And I hadn't put it on the schedule. I said, when do they want it? Day or night? She said, night. I said, all right. Monday at 5 or Monday at 6? Would either of those work? She said, Monday at 5 would be great. I added a section for one student. That's a student-driven schedule. Compare that to a faculty-driven schedule where it's like, okay, Joe, we need to offer Pre-Cal 2. When works for you? Let me look at my schedule. Okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 would really fit in nicely for me, right? Student-driven schedule, math on demand, a schedule that is run by student need. So these scheduling benefits really come into play in the low enrollment classes and the off-sites especially. Anyway, now we had a lot of good results, and Paul's already mentioned a lot of them, and that's fine. And a lot of people will say, well, I want to see a study. Okay, we did a study. The Tennessee Board of Regents commissioned a study last year of the redesign at Cleveland State. And we tracked students 3 semesters before and 3 semesters after. And we looked at course success, and we looked at next course success. We did logistical regression, and we set the significance level at 95% going in. So here's what they found. The redesign had a strong positive impact on course success. The redesign had a strong positive impact on next course success, both in college math and developmental math. And gender and race were not factors in predicting course success. Those achievement gaps have been closed. Okay? You don't get any better results than that. Patricia Cross, 1976. Mastery learning is the critical missing link in the education of low achievers. Why? Because if there's an achievement gap, and this is just common sense, if there's an achievement gap, here's the three things that you need in the recipe to close that achievement gap. You need to get the students who are underprepared to actually do the work. Then you need to give them the resources and the time so that they can do the work. And then you need to give them the help they need when they struggle. That's it. So it's really no mystery why the achievement gaps were closed, because we did those three things. And that's really what Patricia Cross was saying back in 1976.